Joe Louis, champion of them all, Bourbon presents The Making of Champions. In honor and respect for the legacy of Joe Louis, the longest reigning world heavyweight champion, who became the first African-American national hero, who served in World War II, contributing to the morale of the troops, broke through the color barrier in professional golf, and helped pave the way for future generations of civil rights activists. Each new episode celebrates people who follow his lead in accomplishing extraordinary things to inspire a new generation of champions. It begins now with your hosts, Tanya Cole and Marquise Johns.
Welcome to this episode of The Making of Champions. You are in for such a treat tonight. Dana Richards' greatest mission is to serve. She's a philanthropist, breast cancer survivor, fashion designer, television producer, and butterfly. In 2017, she launched the Malibu Dana activewear line to help breast cancer patients by donating a portion of these proceeds and sales to various charities that she works closely with as a volunteer, an ambassador, committee member, advisory board member, and a board of directors member. As a 12-year breast cancer survivor, she is deeply, deeply committed to helping other breast cancer survivors and advocating for early detection. Now, this morning on your social media, you made this very intriguing post that some girls are sugar and spice and others are whiskey and ice. Who's the whiskey and ice girl or woman?
She's right here. As you can see, I don't know if you can see my shirt. I'm just going the wrong direction. Bourbon, bacon, and yoga. That was the flagship slogan that started everything. I was a TV producer for 15 years. I created and co-produced some shows like Ace of Cakes for the Food Network, a wedding dress show called Bride by Design, another food show called Marcel's Quantum Kitchen. I worked at Fox Sports. I loved working in TV. I love being a storyteller. I just kind of had to reframe my storytelling because unfortunately at 35, I got diagnosed with a shocking breast cancer diagnosis, which I did not see coming. There is a little bit of my family, but I don't have the gene, and we spotted it dropping my stepdaughter off at college, and we were like, what is that? And I was just got married. I felt like I could sucker punch trying to have a baby. It all just kind of, there's never a good age, but I don't think I was mentally prepared at 35. So the thing I will start off by saying is early detection saves lives. It saved mine. It can happen to anyone at any age. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care how old you are. And at this point, it's impacting men and women, we should say. So it is currently the most diagnosed disease on the planet. Yeah. So, and when they say 1 in 8 women, now people will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime, what they mean is that's over the course of your lifetime. Because disease happens obviously as you get older. So your odds at 35, my odds at 35 of getting breast cancer, a diagnosis were like 1 in 200, but they go up as you get older, right? So it's going to impact your friends, your colleagues, your neighbors. Unfortunately, everyone will be touched by someone who has had it. So I'm here to say, be vigilant. Be vigilant. It's just like getting your teeth cleaned. It's just like anything. I'm not going to pretend and say it was a fun journey, but I am 12 years cancer-free, and I'm alive and breathing and here to prove it, that it does save lives. I'm hoping we eradicate it in my lifetime, but that's how this whole journey began. So I'm going to backtrack. Sorry if I'm going a little all over the place. I didn't even answer the whiskey and ice thing. So come back to whiskey and ice. I used to do these bachelor nights with my girlfriends. We would each pick a house to do a bachelor night at. They would drink champagne. I would bring bourbon because that's how I roll.
That's a girl.
Yeah. I'm kind of an equal opportunist when it comes to bourbon. And I just basically my husband did like a tasting for me. I just got intrigued. We were at dinner one night. I was intrigued by the difference between single malt Scotch and bourbon. I'm like, wait, what? This is a whole new world, Japanese whiskey. So he has quite an alcohol collection. So he just lined them up. He did a blind tasting. So I didn't know what was what. And I happen to like bourbon the most, maybe because it's sweet like me. We know better. Oh, bourbon was my favorite. So it just kind of stuck. And then I would always say bourbon, bacon, and yoga are my 3 favorite things. And that was my ongoing joke. People are like, you should have a shirt that says that. That's like your whole life. And so it was a joke. And so as a joke, I made a t-shirt. I printed just like 8 of them off the internet for my best girlfriends. I didn't even print one for myself. And they started wearing them. And then a week later, people started asking for them because that's how I roll. I always dive in head first. I'm slightly impulsive and headstrong. And I think that probably served me well when I was fighting breast cancer. But like I said, I changed my narrative, and I had just found my voice. I realized I could use my voice after 5 years. I was 5 years cancer-free to help other breast cancer patients. I spoke at an event and I realized I had a greater purpose. I would have preferred not to go through breast cancer, but you don't get to pick. Life throws you curveballs, right? No one said it was going to be perfect. And listen, everyone has a story. This is just my story. And everyone equated me to this butterfly coming out of her cocoon. When I came out of it, because obviously I had the surgeries, I had the complications, I had the chemo, I had the radiation. When you're 35, you better throw everything at it. And so you don't want to look in the rearview mirror. I don't ever want to go through this again. So I look like the Little Prince. I look like G.I. Jane. I named all of my wigs. I had Natasha the Russian Spy. I had Jenny from the Block. I tried to find light and levity in it. I kind of have a wicked sense of humor. So then this whole bourbon bacon yoga thing started. This was my first t-shirt. Hence the bourbon, bacon, and yoga. And it kind of all just spawned from there. And I started an activewear line because I kind of have a wicked, irreverent sense of humor. And I decided to give all of my proceeds to breast cancer charities I work with. So when you say, I feel like whiskey girls tell the best stories. Bourbon girls tell the best stories. My best friends, we all drink bourbon. Some of us like it neat. Some of us like it on the rocks, but I do feel like it's there's a refined, wicked, irreverent, interesting. You always know behind those eyes and behind that glass, there's going to be a good story. So I don't know. It's a special. I think you could probably relate, Tanya. What's your favorite bourbon?
I don't have one favorite one. Of course, it would be Joe Louis bourbon.
That's the correct answer.
I know you pulled out your whistle pick earlier. I've got like 5 or 6 of those. I've got about 10 Maker's Mark. So you name it, I probably have it.
I got the little Blanton's one for Christmas. And
I just got that one too.
I was I'm not gonna lie. I was like
a little family portrait.
It's
in the gold and then the little baby.
Yeah, we have I think we have a 12-year pappy, but I'm not allowed to touch it. It's a hands-off.
I have a pappy back here. Let's see
situation in this household. So I'm going to sound like this bad Lifetime movie. You're going to be like, is she making this up? So we happen to maybe lose our house and the 2018 Woolsey fire in Malibu.
Oh.
Yeah. So, snap. I like how you roll. Is it open?
That one is not open. That one is not open, but I'm happy to open it.
It might be a night. How about if you show me yours, I'll show you mine.
Right.
How about you, Marquise? How are you going to bring out the pappy when we go on the campus?
I'm on a school campus. That's highly frowned upon and prohibited here. Nonetheless, it would be great.
Right.
If they see pappy, I think actually they will just arrest you and keep the pappy.
Probably.
You know what? They know anything.
What's interesting is that one of my most recent acquisitions is actually from the University of Kansas. It's a J. Riger bourbon. I'll show you that bottle.
Do you think that bourbon is? I mean, let's say if you're 21.
I am 20. I'm actually. I look 12. I turn 40 next year.
You look like you're 19.
I'm 12.
Oh, snap again.
Jayhawk action there, Marquise.
Yeah, I see that.
Huh?
Oh, okay.
You just started moving out there.
Marquise, what's your favorite bourbon?
You know what's funny? Until I hooked up with the 5 books at Joe Louis, I was just a simple person at the bar. First thing that I saw that looked halfway decent. Hey, Jack Daniels. Hey, that's bourbon, right? Whatever have you, whiskey, whatever. Not this, whatever's in front of my face. Over years, I've gotten weird with stuff. Big fan of Maker's Mark. I've gotten a big fan of that. Joe Louis bourbon, obviously, with Cherry Coke's a big fan of that. Cherry Coke Zero, Tanya, by the way, it's a very good very good with this actually as well.
Okay.
Big fan of that. If you don't want the sugar part of it, big fan of that. But those have been the big four so far, Malibu Dana, for the most part.
I like that he started calling Malibu Dana. Nobody calls me Dana. No one, not one person.
In fact, Dana, let's start there. Actually, how did you get the city title? How did you get that title?
Malibu. Have you been there?
I've driven
There
through.
are like 5,000 people who live there. Probably only half permanently. Well, it's one of those things that a lot of fancy people live there. so that show I created, the wedding dress show.
Yes.
It was a process driven show. I could not sell it now. Like Ace of Cakes, we couldn't sell that now. It's too nice. They don't want nice television. They want it to be over the top. I probably got out just in time before the Real Housewives. So she would name all of her wedding dresses after someone she loved, and I was obviously her executive producer. And she's from Alabama. There's actually a bourbon I love from Alabama. Of all things, I have to think of the name. I'll probably go grab it from the other room.
I wonder, is it from Opelika, Alabama?
And I know most of them come from Kentucky. Like, is it like 95%?
There's one that's called, I think, John Emerald.
No, there's another one. I'm going to figure it out. It'll come to my brain. So Malibu. So she's like, I live in Alabama in Hayfield. I live in Birmingham. And so she was like, but you're fancy. And so and I'm slightly like, I'm barely dressed. People are like, you have an activewear line and you don't wear any clothing. I'm like, well, it's optional. Born in Los Angeles. So she named the dress the Malibu Dana. It was her most provocative dress because she's very Southern, like with the pockets and the so-and-so. It was her sassiest dress. And that's where Malibu Dana came from. Okay. And then and there's like maybe one other Dana in all of Malibu. I mean, it's not that big. It's a pea pod. So then I started my Instagram handle as Malibu Dana. She kind of coined it, Heidi did. And then when the whole brand started, it just kind of made sense because it was already my Instagram. So I think it's confusing for people. I mean, whatever. It is what it is at this point. It's branded. You don't, at the beginning, you guys, when I started this, I didn't even take it seriously enough to even have a logo. I put Bourbon, Bacon, Yoga. I wish I had an original. And I just put hashtag Malibu Dana as a joke. Because I was like, I'm just a hashtag. I wasn't even taking it seriously. And now I have a pretty logo and things.
Yes. And that's all trademark.
But yeah, that's where Malibu Dana started. But it's confusing because people are like, but you are Malibu Dana. I'm like, yes, but your brand is Malibu Dana. So when I say Malibu Dana, they're like, are you talking about the person or the brand? But the truth is, the brand is me and I am the brand, because the story is about survival and overcoming. And, life is all about falling down and getting back up. And we're all just faking it. Yeah. just going in. I mean, really, I think the challenges in life are what form you and shape you. Right. I mean, no one said it was going to be easy. And we don't know what's coming our way. Everyone has a story. Everyone's endured hardship, but you have to find out what feeds your soul. Like, what is that thing? It doesn't have to be working for or serving your time for a breast cancer organization. It could be walking dogs at the dog park. Like, what feeds your soul? Like, why do you get up every morning? Like, what are you passionate about? Advocate for what you believe in. Be passionate. What lights your fire? Because every day I wake up and I say to myself, butterfly. A lot of people call me butterfly. Butterfly, you're alive. And today you're going to do the best that you can. Hence the yoga part. The yoga part. So I do yoga every morning, and I call it the detox program, because I do yoga and calm. And then I retox in the evening, and it's working for me. And I'm just showing you all the lines. My clever hat. Do you see it? Detox, retox.
I love it.
Do you see it? In the mirror, it actually it reverses, believe it or not.
Really?
So, and I'm just going to show you the other one. I also have Blame It on Bourbon.
On Bourbon.
Yes.
I have baby onesies that say that too. So yes. So that's how Malibu Dana started. And then, to make matters even more confusing, we did unfortunately lose our house in the Woolsey 2018 fire. Yeah. We lost Pappy Van Winkle's. That's all I'm going to say. Aww. And 1,200 bottles of wine and our house. But we lost 650 houses in that fire, and that was in 2018. So to make matters more confusing, I don't have a house in Malibu anymore. I'm like, but if I hadn't gone through breast cancer, I wouldn't have been able to compartmentalize that happening. I mean, losing the house really, really did suck. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucked. But in comparison to going through breast cancer, I mean, when people were like during COVID, when things were really bad, they're like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do? I have to sit home alone." I'm like, "Oh no, you haven't been through chemo, man." I'm like, this is
Right.
and you're like sitting. Oh my gosh, you have to sit at home and hang out with your family. Oh no. So it's all about perspective, isn't it? And we all have our share of stuff we've been through, right? It's just how you come out the other side. It's how you overcome the adversity that really defines your character, I believe. And just knowing what that is that lights your soul, I guess. I always say live with passion, pursue happiness, and inspire others with the light that shines within us. And I think the people that I really relate to, the bourbon drinkers, they have this light behind their eyes. There's this passion. And again, I'm an equal opportunist. I like people who drink other things as well. I'm not your friend unless you drink bourbon. Right. Only at a very high value. No, I like all people equally. I enjoy people. But I do feel like, when you look in someone's eyes, you can see that passion. Like, what are you doing every day? Every day, you just try to do the best that you can, right? And then you have to be like, okay, that's enough. Maybe it wasn't my best day. So that's kind of my random story. I'm now in Hermosa Beach in the South Bay. And I'm a terrible businesswoman, but I'm a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful giver to charity. So because I give all my profits to charity because I can. Mm-hmm. I'm in a position where I can at this point. Business-wise, not that smart. But from feeding my soul, that's what makes sense to me. And it started with this bourbon bacon yoga, but it's grown into something so much bigger than me. It's really not about me anymore. Yeah, it's about that ripple effect. And that's to go back to the butterfly. I have a Butterfly Strong collection, and what it means is they say the flap of one butterfly wing in Africa can cause a hurricane halfway around the world. And that is that chaos theory. And like I said, everyone has a story, but I guess I'm this idealist that I think that together we can generate these powerful forces to change the world. And it starts with that one little ripple. And people know whatever cause I get behind, whether it's doing a donation drive out of my garage for Malibu for the families, whatever it is, listen, crap happens, right? But then you got to find the best way for me to find my way out of it, dig my way out of it, is to help other people. So I guess in a selfish way, it helps me to help other people. That's how I get past things. I mean, what are you going to do? You're just going to grovel? Isn't it easier to pour yourself into a cause or something that makes sense of all of it? So yeah, that's the Butterfly Strong philosophy. And
tell us about the Hermosa Beach Education Foundation.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
The Hermosa Beach Education Foundation.
That's one of many charities. I tend to bite off a little more than I can chew. I definitely. So there's several charities. One is the breast cancer fundraiser. We send care packages to newly diagnosed breast cancer patients because no one knows what to send you. So I will say just across the board, if anyone knows anyone diagnosed, go to Malibu Dana, go to the bcf.org. We send the care packages for free. This is one of the things that I'm the Butterfly Strong hat. Like, why am I in here? See, you get one of these because you'll probably lose your hair. And a bunch of, it's like a big FabFitFun package arriving at your door. There's a yoga mat, everything you're going to need during treatment. We've thought of a lot of survivors on the board with me. So that's one thing, because everyone I seemingly knows someone, unfortunately, who's diagnosed. Mm-hmm. So let's start there. That's the breast cancer fundraiser. There's the Dr. Susan Love Foundation for breast cancer research. And she thinks we can eradicate breast cancer in our lifetime. That is the Dr. Love Foundation. I also have a love collection. It just so happens. So love. Ooh, see, with the butterfly. Isn't it cute? Isn't that cute?
That is very cute.
It's pretty. So there's a lot of butterflies. So then the portion of the proceeds goes to that, right? And then the Hermosa Beach Education Foundation, they actually had a dance squad where they wore all my stuff. So they did an event to raise money for them. And also they do a big fundraiser every year to clean up the classrooms. Unfortunately, I have a stepdaughter who's, my husband's 17 years older than me, and my stepdaughter is 17 years younger than me. So I'm squashed right in the middle. But I don't have my own kids, unfortunately. The chemo was not kind in that, but I do have all my butterflies and all the women who find me, and all I should say men too, all the butterflies and all the breast cancer patients that I help. So those are kind of my babies, as are the charities. I also work with another charity called Walk with Sally, and we do a mentoring program for the kids impacted, their parents or their siblings are impacted by different types of cancer, and they're kind of struggling on their own because they kind of get forgotten if their parents are going through treatment. That's like a big brother, big sister program. It's a big charity down here in the South Bay. God, what am I forgetting? How many charities do I work with? Michael's.
I think there's the Foundation of the Local Arts.
Yes. Oh, actually, that was the dance. That was the dance squad.
Okay.
So I'm getting that one confused with the school one. The school one is more. It's more. All the moms I know, all the yoga moms that I know they've asked me to help with all this. I wish I had my own little ones. It's kind of funny at their events. They're like, "So, what grade are your kids in?" I'm like, I like bourbon. Let's relate. So, it's to help with the classrooms and the teaching staff. And then I'm forgetting Michael's Learning Place is to help kids who have learning disabilities, severe learning disabilities, and they have a training program for them where they learn functional skills so that they can have a happy life in society. And they have a bakery, and they have all these amazing schooling programs for the kids who are kind of the forgotten ones. That's Michael's Learning Place. So these are a lot of South Bay charities, but the Dr. Susan Love Foundation is global. She wrote the Bible on breast cancer, so she's probably the most famous oncologist of our lifetime. So if anyone can eradicate breast cancer, it's her. When I met her, I was running around following her. I was like, I've been so excited to meet you. I'm so excited to meet you. So those are all the charities I work with. The main one, the grassroots one though, is the breast cancer fundraiser, the BCF, because we are grassroots and we're a PPOD, and we're the ones who send the care packages. And I donate the hats, and we're just small but mighty. As you can imagine, working all these charities was a little more difficult during COVID. But of course. I feel like everyone's pivoted. Tanya, you work with education? Is that what I
do? Education administration right now in particular.
And Marquise, what do you do?
Right now, I just hang out at colleges for not being creepy. But for the most part, I'm pretty much an admin assistant over here at the University of Denver. That's the new gig I got currently going on here. So I'm around the youth of America, trying to make sure that I'm not the youth of America.
And so this is the thing. So I feel like I'm sad because I haven't been able to test the Joe Louis bourbon. What are the hints of flavor? Is it sweet on the sweeter side? What is it?
For me, it is going to be on that sweeter side. It
is a sweeter, yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice little nose there. And then in terms of the palate, you're going to get a lot of baking spices, some pepper there. It goes well with an old-fashioned energy cocktail, but definitely makes you think of those things like chocolate chip cookies when you bite into them, or maybe bacon. Actually, it's I had a friend of mine that just worked with Joe Louis bourbon, and just a pork belly slab. She marinated it for 12 days, and it tastes amazing with a watermelon and arugula salad. So,
what did she do?
So if that kind of gives you any idea in terms of its flavor profile, it's one of those nice, rich, buttery, sweet, feel-good bourbons. And so if I get my hands on another one, I'll make sure to send one to you right away.
Much appreciated.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yeah, I never met a chocolate chip cookie I didn't like.
Right. Especially when you make it with bourbon.
What? I gotta try it. Yes. I just don't. Have you guys tried that peanut butter one? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
It's back there. They're all back there. For the second half of this broadcast, I'm going to pull out the rest of them so that I can show you my favorites. I should have had them out. And I might start drinking in the second half. What time is it there?
It is 7:29 here. It is past happy hour.
I was about to say it's 5 o'clock.
It's happy hour. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's 4:29, but it's close enough.
Right.
Do you guys think that bourbon is making like a big stake internationally? I mean, what's it doing internationally? I know what it's doing across the nation. It's sort of like
yes. Well, of course, as you know, in the U.S. is making a huge comeback.
Yeah.
I think with some of the laws and some of the restrictions that are happening internationally between trade and sale, those are sort of relaxing as well. And so we should see an uptick in that as well. We're bringing in more foreign spirits as well to the U.S. And so I think that, trade and barter and sharing of cultures and preferences will cross continents.
I hope so. Or not. We can just hoard it. I'm okay with that too. What if there was a shortage? What would we do?
I don't know. I think we just go straight down to Kentucky and
I haven't been. Have you guys been?
You should go. I've been twice, and I'll go back again in about a month. So yeah, there's plenty for us to partake.
Well, how many days do I need on the Bourbon Trail?
Oh gosh. I would say you could hit everything in a week.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have you create like a triptych.
I certainly can, because I have two for the first two trips, and I'm working on one now for the Northern Kentucky leg. So we certainly can.
Awesome. What's the best time to go?
Oh my gosh, when it's not hot. So I went in December actually, which is quite nice because there's not a lot of crowds. And then I went again in May, which was actually quite nice too. You started to see like a little of an uptick with crowds, but people were starting to kind of get happy because the weather's a bit warmer, and they're coming out of the colder winter months. So it was nice to see that as well. A lot of the distilleries are open air, and so it's such a nice environment to be in.
What are they? I mean, they're close by. I don't know, because I think of
there's like a good number of distilleries in Louisville. Then there's a nice little batch in Frankfurt, and there's a couple of other cities as well, like Lexington. And then you've got the north part of the trail, which is like right across the river from Cincinnati, and there's a few distilleries there too, like New Riff.
Is that where the Joe Louis distillery is?
So Joe Louis is being distilled out of Virginia, and when we get back to part 2 of Joe Louis, we'll talk about your start in Virginia. That's right. Brave Dana. Tell us the stories of Brave Dana. So thanks for joining us. This episode of Joe Louis Bourbon. We'll be right back with part 2.